What would you say has been your most challenging role to date? And what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, boy. Well, it was one of the clips that you played in that little intro was from a movie called The Pony Man, which I had a really big part in it. And what I learned from that was and it spent on weekends for like 4 months. I mean, it was a long, long drag. But it's like you gotta have your head in the game all the time, because the camera doesn't miss a thing. Everything, it's all there. So that's one thing I learned. I also learned that the crew, we had a great crew, good guys. The editor was the photographer. And he and I got on great. We talked, we had fun, we both liked baseball. And then he went and edited it. And it took like a year to get edited. Brought the movie back, and he came up and he said, "Dennis, I like you. Stay away from it." He'd seen enough. He'd seen enough of me while editing that. He just, that, I'll tell you, that speaking of criticism, that hurt, because I walked in, "Hey, there's my old buddy," and he's like, "Back off, dude,"
You said it took 4 months and it was just on the weekends. Was it hard to kind of jump into your life and then back into the character and then back into your life?
It wasn't that hard because, again, like almost like every role I get is practically me anyway. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't like a big stretch. So
yeah,
it wasn't that tough. It wasn't, and it was fun, and it was good people. We had a real good time, I thought, until a year later. Then I realized we did.
When I tied some of the scenes together and was thinking about it, I thought, you know what? You're always dealing with money. What's that all about? It's always about a financier, the bank manager, the loan officer, you losing your job, loss of money. It's really interesting.
I think it's just a big part of our society these days.
Yeah.
The money.
And your character.
Yeah.
Your character is always about money.
I don't know.
You said you've only taken one acting class. Do you feel like that you needed to take it, or do you feel like you could have figured it out on your own? Like, do you feel like it's required training, or do you feel like it's, like your friend said, acting is easy? So how does that go down?
I think the training, we were in a bunch of that class, and we took it several times. It was a social thing, and I think, of course it was good because it got me doing stuff, got me up there, got me with different type of being different type of characters, other people working with other people. So it's very good. Maybe I would have figured it out, but if I have figured it out up till now anyway. But no, I know that. For instance, I just read that book about the guy that just died. He was in Galaxy Quest, the English guy. Galaxy Quest, he was in Hogwarts, the main guy, Snipes or Snopes or whatever his name was.
Oh, yeah.
I just read his biography, and he's talking about, the acting he's talking about is a whole nother level from the kind of stuff I do. And I know there's a whole big old world out there that is perfectly legit and, serious, that I am not, that I'm not up there with those guys. But, so, training is quite important. So
it's good to have a foundation.
Yeah, I would say. What kind of training have you done, Joe?
Gee, this ain't about me.
I know.
You can interview me later. No, I mean, so I started off in college. I got asked to be a background actor, and that's what hooked me. And then I enrolled into acting classes and theater, and then started taking workshop after workshop after workshop. And that was easier for me because my schedule was basically to have these short-term weekend workshops and learn everything I could, take notes, and then the rest of it was just practicing. I didn't go to an acting academy or a long semester of acting other than college. I guess I did. From the others, just basically workshops is what I've done. And I even did up in Bellingham. I did Ryan Stiles' improv class up there. He has a theater, and that was a blast. So I got enough foundation, I feel like. But you're right. When it comes to the Hollywood images and pictures and those type of sets, I mean, you're gone for several months and you're just immersed into it. So you're in it. And I think that's a whole nother level versus, every weekend or every other weekend, just the weekend, like what we did. So it's just kind of like take a deep breath, get into it, and then we'll wrap it from there. How did your experience as an actor kind of evolve into writing An Unlikely Event?
Well, I've always enjoyed doing comedy. I kind of feel I have a little bit of a knack for it, and I always wanted to write. So I thought of a situation that might be a cute, short little play, and I wrote it as a play. It's all it's like putting together a puzzle. This bit here, that bit there, and making this whole thing out of all these little pieces that come out of your head and putting it together. So that's basically what I did. And I tried to connect everything. I connect all the jokes, and I tried to have every line move the story a little bit farther or give some information about the couple or about what's going on or about their mother, his mother, her mother, and try to just have the jokes, try to catch every possible joke on the circumstances of the movie. The movie is sort of like the world's longest dick joke, basically. So I thought of every off-color little jokey kind of thing I could do for that without being too distasteful, I hope, and just put it together that way.
Was it difficult to write comedy?
It's not. Yeah, yes and no. If it's flowing and if you can start getting gags and if you're open to what not to sound corny, but what the universe is willing to provide for you, stuff will show up. So so it's not like it's hard to, again, it's certainly not easy. It took me a long time to write because of my procrastination and looking at a word I write down and say, well, that's no good. I will never like that, scratch. So overcoming that kind of self-critical self-evaluation or thinking what other people may think of what I just produced here, getting past that is really the hardest part for me of writing. Lose the self-criticism, just put it out and not worry about it. That's something I struggle with all the time, including today.
Did you write anything before that, or was this your very first script?
Oh, I've written several scripts. I wrote one back when I was a kid, had a reading, that was nothing. Then I had An Unlikely Event. I wrote another one called Red Table 3, which was done, that theater group in LA did it. It was a finalist in one of their contests. I wrote one called Ducks on a June Bug, which is sort of a sociopathic look at the post-Civil War South, which won an award at a William Faulkner writing an honorable mention for William Faulkner National Contest. So very proud of that.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well written, but it's from the point of view of the wealthy Southern landowners who just lost their slaves, and what the hell are they going to do now? And it shows them as very, not necessarily racist, but unconcerned about the repercussions of, okay, we lost our black people now. How are we going to carry on? And the fact is, the black people are still there, sharecropping. They can suck money out of the poor white people too. So it's sort of a picture of that kind of ugly type of behavior, but with a Christian, the genteel Southern, bullshit over it. So I'm pretty proud of that one too. But I've got some people have read that and said, hated me for it, wanted to hit me because they didn't read it. They think it's racist, and it's not anti-black. It's anti-white, rich white capitalist sort of thing is what it's anti. But not everybody reads.
So do you have a stack of scripts that you want to make into films or anything like that, or are you trying to?
I have one. The one I mentioned before, Red Table 3, I think could be a nice little short film. It's a little surreal, but I think that could be a nice little one. I'm writing one now that I think might also be good. But like movies it's so hard because there's so many people involved, and everybody, wants to do their thing. It's really a totally different kind of writing than writing for theater because it's, cameras and, shots and angles and second shots and second reel and all this stuff. And basically what I try to write about is people and things that could actually happen to real people. And describing the curtains in the bedroom in the opening of the scene, what does that get you? I mean, that's for the producer. You worry about that. Let me worry about the people and, all the periphery. I think that's handled by other people.
How did you learn how to write scripts?
By reading.
Reading books. Okay.
Reading books, reading plays, being in a bunch of plays when I was a kid.
So you had the script right there.
Yeah. Read those scripts too and see what I think's funny, what could possibly be funnier or awkward, or it's from reading, really, and watching movies and watching good television shows and going to see them. I think that's a real good way to learn to write is to read.
So how did your experience then, if you didn't direct Unlikely Event, but you wrote it and produced it, what kind of decisions were involved when it came to actually the production?
I let all the lighting, sound, the camera, all that stuff, I didn't have anything to do with. So I let other people who are better at that handle that. And I just tried to act,